All right, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. Pretty excited. Testimonial interview here with Gabe. And Gabe, God, I didn't go over your last name. I know what it is, but I ruined everybody's last name. Is it the French version of, or it wouldn't be, maybe even Spanish? What is it?
Nah, it'd be Italian, but
Italian. So,
yeah.
G-
So
Giglia?
it's Pilla or Pila,
Oh,
one of those
Pilla.
two.
No, I'd put a G on it. It's right. Pilla.
Yeah,
So
Pilla.
that's how the Italians say it. Pilla.
I mean, it's technically Pila, but
Pila. But more
everybody just says
Italians say
Pilla.
it's Pilla.
Yeah,
Forget about it, right?
yeah,
All right,
exactly.
good. All right, and then we got Shawn Kitzman.
Yeah,
And Shawn is, I'm not even going to go into exactly what you do. I know it's on the lines of biomechanics. Why don't you give them
Yeah,
an understanding of what you do, and then we're going to bring in how you're a part of the team here.
yeah. So I do like movement re-education, and I work strictly like you said, like biomechanically, and we track the skeleton, how it moves, and help the skeleton move better. Some of it's done manually, but a lot of it is done just through movement, getting to eccentrically and concentrically load the skeleton.
So basically, like a movement specialist. Like you hear that word a
Yeah.
lot, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. The thing with the movement specialist is people have thrown it out there more. What you'll see them do is a lot of people think about that as like an exercise coach or like kind of like
Yeah,
a
right.
performance coach. And while I definitely do have a little bit of performance in there, it's really about like just watching the timing of the skeleton and
Yeah.
how it moves and
Yeah, I
changes.
mean, I would just come up with like a layman's term, but
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I've been around you to know that your stuff's very advanced, and I think that's why we make a good team,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
So cool, but this can be about Gabe. Gabe came into Top Velocity and brought in his coach Shawn, and putting all of our heads together. Even obviously Gabe and Gabe's hard work has had some great accomplishments here in the time we've been together. So talk about how all this started. Like where I guess you can even talk about like when you met Shawn, what Shawn was doing for you, and then why you came to Top Velocity.
yeah. So I found y'all back way in like my junior year of high school back in 2015. Um, and I never like I always did like the lifting and stuff like that, and I did some of the throwing, but I never like I guess went all in on it. And then but I mean, you guys helped me a lot with that sense and just not being there. So I always kind of like thought in the back of my head, oh, maybe sometime like it would be a good time to go down there. And then, last February, I was just talking with my mom and, we're just thinking about summer ball and stuff like that because, you're always thinking about stuff like that. And I was just like, had this idea like, oh, what if I went down to Top Velocity for the summer and just, spent the whole summer just going all in on it, and just kind of experience it all. So that's kind of what happened there, and what made me want to come down and work with y'all because I knew you had a good track record, and I understood all your stuff, and I just thought, let's just go all in. And then Shawn, we met back in the summer of 2018 when I was doing Pilates out of a studio, and the instructor said, he's a movement specialist. He works out here with me. This might be something you're interested in. And I had previously had a history of knee pain. So, but I wasn't going to work with him at first. And then, I'm working with the Pilates instructor, and Shawn's there that day. And, we talk, and he comes up to me. He's like, yeah, I think I found like the perfect pitching mechanics. And I kind of in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I wonder like who he looked at for it. So I was like more out of curiosity, just was like, all right, let's just do a session. I'll sit like told him I've had history of knee pain, sent him video, and he was able to kind of like find why my knee was hurting and fixed it there. And then from there, we've just been working like, because I have a good understanding of what y'all teach and biomechanically what's supposed to happen. But what's cool about working with Shawn is like, he's able to help bridge that gap between me knowing what to do and my body being able to do it. So it's made this seamless transition where we've been able to make huge strides in a very short amount of time with mechanics and everything like that.
Yeah, and when I was looking at pitching mechanics before, I was looking at just how the foot moved, and I was starting to look at the idea of creating torsion, And then when he scheduled an appointment with me, I was like, okay, I need to do some homework on this because I think I understand this, but I want to make sure. And then I found TopVelocity's videos without even Gabe like saying anything about it. And so the first appointment he comes in, and I was like, yeah, so you don't create torsion because his foot was everted or tipping in. You don't actually keep 3 points of contact there because I could already see his talus internally rotating. And so he's like, yeah. And I said, yeah, I've probably watched about a good 2 or 3 hours of TopVelocity videos. And that was like from, like I think we made an appointment like on Thursday or something like that. And I had another appointment on like that Tuesday. So in that time, I had found your videos. And
That's
so
cool.
you typically make about a half hour, 15 minutes to half hour video. So I probably watched like 2 or 3 hours of videos already. So I had watched a lot of your videos. And the thing that I really appreciated about it was how you explained the way that the body was supposed to load and then preload, and really clearly gave direction as to what was supposed to happen. And when I kind of poked around and looked at other videos, nobody else was talking about the biomechanics of it like that. And I just got it instantly. So it was super cool.
Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's why we work together so well.
Yeah.
And I think Gabe on the other end, I think kudos to him. Like, I don't know how you're so advanced to be able to catch up with us. Like, how are you catching up with us here?
I just, I've watched so many videos of you guys, and like, I've taken anatomy before too, and I just like, it fascinates me. So I just like to understand everything. So like, I want to know as much as I can. So.
And cool. And so
that's been one of the bonuses for me as well, because there was certain things that I wasn't understanding. And I think any good coach, and this is what I've seen you do a lot when I was down there, like you just don't have your own ideas. You get a ton of feedback from your athletes. Yeah. And so like with Gabe, I would say like, dude, what's supposed to be happening here? And then we would look at it on video, or he would talk to me about it. And so collaboratively, we come together. And that was one of the things that I really super respected about being in Louisiana, was watching you collaborate with the guys.
Cool. Appreciate it, Shawn. And I think with Gabe, when he came in, you see a guy's very quick. I could also see as a strength coach that he could get quicker or more powerful, more explosive, which he did. And then I saw a lot of his speed was in his upper body. He was just trying to be really quick with his upper body. And it gets to a point where you can cap that out pretty fast. And then a player doesn't know what to do. He starts trying to figure out a way, can I load it and make it go even faster? And then we start having problems because you're over accelerating something that's already walking the edge of what it can handle in stress. So getting Gabe to understand, okay, the lower half can also provide a lot of the power and a lot of the force, and you can get that as quick, just as explosive. And then how does your upper body work with that? How does it actually harness that energy? I think that's where was really what helped Gabe. Wouldn't you say, Gabe? Is that when it kind of came together?
Yeah, for sure. I just, after that first week, when we put that load on of like, doing that 2-pound med ball, I had such like a fast upper half, and I'd pull so hard with my upper half. I kind of like tweaked my back a little bit. So it kind of made me have to like relearn that, like, all right, it's going to have to be the lower half, or else I'm just going to like destroy myself doing these.
Exactly.
So,
and
it made me learn quick.
I was always nervous you were going to destroy yourself just because you're so intense. You're a very intense guy. Yeah. I was literally like, Gabe, you don't have to throw today. He's like, no, I'm throwing today.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did I tell you probably don't have to throw today?
Yeah, I remember it was the third day I was there. You said, hey, man, don't throw today. I'm like, nah, man, I'm going to go throw today. It was, but I did learn, like, I learned that lesson, I guess, the hard way. But, and that was the other thing, like, I learned when I came down there is that, you don't have to throw a lot to like throw hard. One of my buddies down there, like, took a week off, and then he goes and hits 91 after taking a week off. And that was kind of like, whoa, what? Okay. Maybe like what I've heard and like what I've seen is a little misleading about having to throw a lot. So yeah,
it's a hard thing. I mean, I'm a guy who tore his rotator cuff, so I know exactly what you were going through. I mean, we get in our head, oh, I want to work hard, and then you think, well, then you correlate working hard to throwing a lot, and that's not a good connection. You should working hard should be like what you're doing now, is understanding what you're doing, and then trying to see all the components of what builds what you're trying to build, and putting all your efforts in all those components, not just one thing, which is throwing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good. So talk about when, as far as your gains, what's it like going from like, mid 80s and then starting to push into the 90s? Like, what did it take for you to do that?
I think the biggest thing was, getting the power and the strength, because, I had conversations with Shawn where, after our assessment and stuff like that, I kind of said, like, I don't do anything like elite, I guess, like nothing in my mechanics is elite, but I do everything good enough. So once I was able to like get more power, then my back leg started going more. I got more front leg extension, more separation, all that stuff.
Did we lose Gabe?
Maybe for a second. Yeah.
His roommates must have just come in. Hey, we lost you for a second. So you're saying you were getting good. You were saying right as you said in your assessment, your evaluation, you didn't have anything that was really elite, which is a great perspective for you.
Yeah.
Because you start going, okay, I'm pretty well rounded. Maybe some things are off balance, but I'm really, really not scoring elite, which is where everybody wants to be. And you focused in on that, which is huge, because a lot of guys, if they have one thing that's elite, they're like, well, that's enough. It's like, well, I can do this really well. Well, that might not be enough, so that was a great perspective for you. So then what did you do with that?
So, yeah, I mean, like, I would, I just really tried to attack like the weights as hard as I possibly could, because I knew, I get stronger, I'll be able to hold torsion longer, I'll drive harder. Like that was, I think, the biggest thing for me is I needed to get stronger, because, I wasn't like weak, but I wasn't where I needed to be. And, it's still something I'm working on now, but that was definitely one of the bigger things, because like sequencing wise, like kind of like what you would always tell me, like I'm at a spot where if I throw a lot, it's not going to change much, because like my sequencing was,
you're just repeating the same thing over and over again, and it's already pretty good of what you're doing. Yeah.
So it's, that was just the big thing for me, was getting in the weight room and getting bigger and faster, stronger.
And I think too that though Gabe didn't have anything elite like in his mechanics or in his pitches at the time, the one thing that Gabe has that is elite is his work ethic and his desire and his passion.
That's a good point.
To get better.
Very much. Yeah.
Because how many times do you see guys, and you see this all the time, I'm sure you'll see guys, like you said, they have that one trick, and man, they're going to ride that trick until it breaks.
Right.
And then they're done, because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah. And you don't want to be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and Gabe does such a good job with his assessment and reassessment, and being able to like, oh, well, we just have to start, maybe we don't start all over again, but we have to start at like 20% now and then build ourselves up.
Yeah, and I think, Shawn, that's what I think you've really helped him with is, because he can go with that work ethic 0 to 160 miles an hour. And if something that he's in there is not stable and not functioning well, that's where you and I have been like, all right, okay, if you keep doing this, you're going to break. And ultimately, you're not going to get what you want. So we need to like rebuild the foundation here so we can go higher and we can also be healthier.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Athletes are always dealing with that. I mean, because you're always pushing your limits. So, and it's a tough thing to do. But like you said, Gabe's got a work ethic, and he's really working to understand this, and that's why he's having success with it. So, Gabe, talk about, because a lot of the guys watching this probably don't understand any of this jargon. So kind of talk about some of, like, give us some simple things that really helped you. And then, ultimately, I guess what helped you was you broke into the 90s. Let's talk about that first. Like, tell them the experience of breaking into the 90s, and then we'll go through some simple things that they can follow, maybe.
Yeah. the first thing, it's like when you start to get in there, like, I guess consistently too, you go, oh my gosh, like it's just kind of like shocking. Like, when I got up to like 91, I wasn't, I was just like surprised. I was like, this is like, I feel like it's not really like even like I'm trying that hard. And like when I focus more on the lower half, it went harder. But I mean, I think the big thing for me was like the more I sat into my back leg kind of and just thought about like keeping that knee facing towards second base, I'd get more out of my lower half, and that would cause me to sequence better and get more separation and all that stuff. So that was my big key was like, let's get into my back leg and not just like kind of sink and then just jump out of it. Like let's ride down the mound with it. So
yeah, because what it does is that because you're such an anxious, like high intent guy, it delays your rotational sequencing because your holding torsion is holding rotation. So when you hold rotation and you go down a mound, you're building more energy now. Because once you rotate, you're throwing. So you're holding rotation longer and you're moving more energy down the mound, and then you go to sequence everything and you're like, wow, I got all this energy behind it now. And that's when your velos jump.
And I got a lot better control too. Shawn came out to one of my starts and he, it was just significantly different. Like I wouldn't miss, I'll miss more up or down now, which is huge for me because I used to be a guy who would miss arm side a lot and I couldn't get to my glove side. Yeah, I couldn't get to my glove side. But now that I know that I can get to my glove side, and the longer I hold torsion and I almost think about like having my hip being as closed as long as possible, it gives me that nice little cue where I know that I can like get to there and I can put the ball where I want to. And it made my changeup better. It made my slider better. Everything just got better. My stuff just got better from it. So
that's huge. Well, Shawn, any comment on what he looked like in his? Because in that outing, you were up to how hard were you throwing?
We didn't have a gun that day, but
what's the highest you've been up to since?
92 is in fall ball. I'd sit about 89, 91 in fall ball, and then on the good days it'd be 90, 92.
Cool.
So
Shawn, tell us what it was like. What was the difference between him before that?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, the difference in his confidence on the mound was profound. I mean, it was amazing. He was always in control. And then the thing that I think that needs to be highlighted a little bit was for guys that maybe come down or that are thinking about coming down, and you're like, well, maybe I don't know if I can get to, whatever that 92 to 93, 94. The other thing that happened for Gabe right away was his secondary pitches became like way dirtier.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he has a swing and miss changeup now and a swing and miss slider, whereas it's not that they were bad before, but they didn't have as much action and he didn't have as much command, and he didn't hit 91, 92 until he went to school, so he was kind of sitting probably somewhere between 88 and 90, but that those secondary pitches played so well that his 90 off his fastball was really super hard to handle. Then guys would be super late on it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, that's huge.
Well,
awesome. So why don't we give those that are watching this some simple things to really start building elite stuff with? Like, give them some simple components. We'll do both of y'all. Gabe, you give them some simple components, and then Shawn, you can give them some simple components that will help them kind of build that foundation.
I mean, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but I really think, to me, it was the longer I stay back in my drive leg and just keep that torsion like we always talked about, that's when my slider would play at its best. I'd get, more movement, better spin, because it's, probably causing, like we've said, more separation.
Yeah, when you're delaying
force.
Your trunk longer, you're staying behind the ball longer. When you're pulling your trunk early, you're getting off on the side of the ball.
Yeah, and then, I think also too with the thing is when we would do the throws, we would do like, those overhead throws like that. I think that also gave me a nice feel for like how to actually like pronate, because, pronation is a very hard thing to actively do when you're throwing. So just doing that over and over again, I actually was able to
feel it,
teach my body how to do it without thinking about it. So
yeah. What do you want to add, Shawn? What's a simple foundation that is essential to developing an elite thrower?
Yeah, I think two things that Gabe that we've done with Gabe. Well, one thing that I've done with Gabe, and then Gabe, this is really just Gabe kind of doing it on his own. Trying to get as much stability in your foot as you possibly can, making 3 points of contact. Here, let me grab Lefty here for a second. So getting 3 points of contact with the foot, underneath the big toe here, underneath the pinky toe, and that posterior lateral contact of the heel. Because if you can have those 3 points of contact, it's going to allow you to stay into your drive leg much, much more, and then have the explosion to come out. So as many foot mobility drills as you possibly can do, and really paying attention to how your foot moves as a unit. I think that's a really critical thing that not a lot of people are talking about. And the other thing that you want to think about too is one of the struggles that pitchers will have is because the cleat splints you. You won't have access to movement in your cleat, and you can't build that foundation unless you do some of that work on your own. And the second thing is one of the strengths that I really see in Gabe, and I saw in a lot of the guys down there. That was another thing that I thought that was a great thing for Gabe too, is to get around other hard workers that are really passionate about the work, but you have to be willing to put in the work, and then also knowing when. Hey, today might not be the best day for me to throw because I feel a little bit tired. You're not going to throw 95 in one session. You're going to be able to throw 95 if you get 10, 15, 20, 80, 100 sessions in. So listening to your body when you feel fatigued, and maybe there's days that you just go in and you work on mechanics and you're not really working on an explosion, so you're allowing yourself to recover more.
Yeah, that's perfect. That was great. Gabe, I guess last thing for you would be you're going to be, when you get up into the bigs one day, you're going to have to advise a lot of those who want to be in your position one day. So just being where you are as a low 90s pitcher in college, what advice do you give to these younger kids that are trying to come up today with all the information that's out there?
I think you just got to just take all the research in that you can and look at all the information that you can, and then just, work as hard as possibly can, because I've been that kid who, didn't throw that hard. I've been in the low 80s before, and it's nobody wants to be there, but if you want it, it's possible to get up there. And I just, I think the biggest thing is, going to a place like that and getting yourself surrounded by people who will push you. And because that's the thing, the environment down there this summer was part of the reason I think there was so much success, because you're with guys who are hard throwers, and it makes you want to go up there and try to throw harder than them, and you got to embrace that, and you just got to just work your ass off, I think, and it was just do the work.
It was pretty cool this summer. I mean, when you were there, you saw a decent amount of guys breaking 90 for the first time.
I did.
It was pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it's exciting. It's exciting to watch guys break into the 90s, just because they know that's now they're at a velocity-wise, they're moving into a professional level, and it's a really exciting opportunity, an experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so, definitely, because it's got this really cool environment there where, you have a friend who hits 90 and you go, oh, awesome. That's great for him. But then there's that other part where you're like, all right, now I'm going to go and try to beat him. Just the other day, I still have a group chat with some of the guys from the summer too. And, one of them was like, hey, I hit 93. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. I was happy for him, but I'm also like, nah, man, I can't lose to you. That's the other, and it creates this really cool environment where you want them to succeed, but you also, you want to win. So
you're still in touch with a lot of the guys from the summer?
A lot of, yeah. I probably talk to them at least 2-3 times a week.
That's huge, man. I think that's the coolest thing. I don't know why we seem to pull like-minded people down here, and people become really good friends. And some of the first groups that came through, they were like in each other's weddings. I mean, it was pretty wild.
The cool thing that I saw too, because I came at the end of the time that he was down there, was like when you know when they're talking about the environment down there. So I've been around a lot. So my thing is I train martial arts, and so I've been around a lot of professional level martial arts MMA guys, and I've seen really toxic environments, by the way. And one of the things that I got down there right away when I saw the group of guys is it is such a healthy environment in a group of guys who are highly, highly competitive, but ridiculously supportive. I mean, you see a guy who's a stud in college going up to some kid that's 14, 15 years old and going like, hey, have you thought about this? Man, this looks really good. Maybe you should try this. And that was such a cool thing, because you can get into these alpha male dog fights, and that was not there whatsoever.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I've been lucky to get a good culture, but you know, every now and then you do get that alpha male. You gotta calm him down, or just kind of make him more aware of the impact he's having on other people. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, any last words for you? And I want them to know about you. So give them like how they can find you and more of what you're doing and everything.
Yeah, so I'm up here in Minnesota. My website is ShawnKitzman.com. And then if on Instagram, you can look me up at Shawn Kitz or at Synergy Movement Therapy. It's obviously this is a testimonial for Gabe and obviously a testimonial for TopVelocity. But again, like I've worked with world-class people. My jiu-jitsu instructor up here, he's coached Brock Lesnar and Sean Shirk, and he's had multiple UFC world champions. So I recognize good training when I see it, and I recognize good environments when I see it. And I also recognize humble people, because I came into your place not knowing you, and I could have completely went off the rails and did, we could have not got along at all. But come on,
you're an extremely nice guy.
Yeah, but we could have not got along.
You're right.
Because our egos clacked.
I appreciate it.
But our egos didn't, and that was one of the other cool things. Is like we had instant collaboration when I came down. So
and it was cool. It was really cool seeing you work with everyone, just because you have way more. You have a way better understanding of the skeleton than I do. So you were able to kind of go, hey, these kids could really benefit understanding some of the intricate details to say the feet and stuff. And I loved you doing that, and the guys were loving it. And I think that's the best thing about what you can do,
Yeah, so that's super. When it speaks volume for a place where someone from the outside comes in and there's no egos that clash, and we can work for the betterment of the group of the people. So that was super cool. And cool. That's why when Gabe mentioned to me yesterday, he was like, hey, you should reach out to Brent. I was like, dude, I would love to be on the show, because I really like Brent. He was a cool guy.
Well, we're going to do a podcast together too. So
yeah, for sure.
And then too, I want you to come down anytime. I know you're in Minnesota, but if you want to come down to this warm ass weather, you can come down anytime you want. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love it.
Well, cool. Well, any last words, Gabe?
I'd just say that if you're thinking about going down there or doing it, just do it. But that being said, you got to do the work, and you got to show up every day, and there's no shortcuts. You can't half-ass it. It's every day. Even there's plenty of days there where I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to warm up, I do not want to move. But you just got to do it, and you just got to do the work. So.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Both of y'all. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And
thanks, this was awesome.
Thank you, and best of luck. We're gonna keep following Gabe. Gabe, I hope you can come down soon and keep training with us.
Yeah.
And just best of luck. Let's stay connected.
Thank you.